Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, and also good morning for everyone who is joining us. My name is Sharang Khaimari. I represent Seed Global Education, and it is a pleasure. Yes, it is our pleasure to host each of you who have taken out time to join in from your mobile phones, tablets, laptop, computers, wherever you are joining us from, however you are joining us from. It is a pleasure to host you. Thank you so much to take that time off from your busy schedules at work, at school, in college, however, and wherever you guys are. It is 8 p.m. here in India. It is also 9:30 p.m. Where Jen and Jen are currently based at the John Hopkins Carey School of Business as well. Before we start off, I'd request everyone who's joined, we have 80 plus people in this room, request everyone who's joined to please let us know which city you are joining us from. We'd love to know which city. You can use the chat box. I'm guessing the chat is functional and open. Yes. Please tell us which city you are joining us from. We have Shivam, who's here from Pune. Welcome, Shivam. Aisha from Tripura, Narla from Hyderabad, Indore, Delhi, Rohtak, Gorakhpur. Esther is here from Lagos. Welcome. Kolkata, Islamabad, Pakistan, Jaipur, Surat, Sakshi is here from UP, Goa, Agra, Jammu, Hubli. I'm not sure, Jen and Jen, if you know a lot of these places. These are from the length and breadth of India. We've got folks here from Pakistan. Manisha is here from Lahore as well. Islamabad, Lahore, Lagos in Nigeria. We've got someone here from Kenya as well. Welcome. Length and breadth of India, South Asia, Pakistan included, West Africa. Um, we are expecting many more people to also join in, and I understand that Zoom might take a couple of minutes to connect as well. We've got two wonderful people who are joining us here today. I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction, but please let the cities coming in. We'd love, and our guests here would love to learn a little bit about which cities you guys are joining us from. We are here today with the Johns Hopkins University and their Carey Business School to hear about a masterclass that is helping building for what's next at Carey, designing a career for impact in the age of AI, where this masterclass will help empower future leaders to thrive in an AI-driven world. As I tell in some of my speeches, I have a new best friend, John. And John, if I'm apologizing to my wife, if I'm doing some work, if I'm saying sorry to my friend, if I'm doing so many things in this world, I couldn't do it at this day and age without the help of AI. And especially for building your career, AI is going to be, it's not the next thing that's happening. It is right here. And we are living in the age of AI. And how it's going to help your career is what we'll have these two wonderful people talk to us about. First up, we have Jean Laird. She's the director of career and life design at Johns Hopkins University. She leads a team of coaching, career education, and operations professionals to empower Carey Business School students and alumni in strategically navigating career and life design to reach their unique professional goals and thrive in the competitive and ever changing marketplace. She is a coach, ACC level, ICF certified coach and career coach through the Career Development Network and Leadership coach through the Georgetown University with 18 plus years of combined experience in consulting, career development, higher education. Thank you so much, John Laird, for joining us. We are really looking forward to all your insights. And if anyone has any career related questions, she's going to be one of the best people to hear from. We also have John Howder. John is with the Johns Hopkins University. Obviously, she's the director of recruitment for full-time programs at the university, and her role oversees a team that's working with prospective students for full-time programs and dual degrees, along with some of the specialized masters as well. So if you are thinking about studying in the US, if you are thinking about studying at Johns Hopkins University, which is known for a lot of things apart from business and apart from the Carey School of Business, anything around visas, etc. We have this particular masterclass which you can utilize. Yes, Micah, I know. I understand you have some questions. We take Q&A. We'll take those Q&A in the Q&A tab. So I'm going to close this chat for now because we would love if you have any questions to use the Q&A tab to do that. And before we do that, I'm going to run a quick poll question. I have a poll question that you can see on screen right now, and I'd request all the 160 of us that are currently in this to watch. What excites you the most about pursuing a STEM designated business program? So, as you know, STEM is science, technology, engineering, math, and there are a lot of STEM designated business programs that you can avail at a lot of US universities, including the Johns Hopkins University. So, what excites you the most? Is it gaining strong analytical and tech skills, or is it access to extended OPT for US and career experience, or is it blending business strategy with AI, which is what we are like ready for? And talking overall about building a future ready career, I'm sure that these kind of programs will help a STEM designated business program. I'm going to wait for 10 more seconds for it to be 60 seconds, and request any of you, if you haven't seen, look at this poll that's on your screen, or if not on your screen, click on the poll tab and you'll be able to gain some access to that. Perfect. I'm going to end this poll right now and share some insights. We can see that apart from the CPT, OPT that you get, yes, the extended OPT does confirm for 15% of the students, but most importantly, it's most on the strong analytical tech skills and some of the business blending skills that contributes to 35 and 27% of the candidates as well. So a little bit of everything. There's not one thing that is exciting anyone so far. Less of me. You guys are not here to listen to me. You guys are here to listen to Jean Howder and Jean Leard. So I'm going to open the floor to Jean Leard, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the programs and also take them through, take this through the next 40 odd minutes of some wonderful insights.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I love that AI is a best friend, a therapist, a research tool, all the things. And Jen, I'll pass it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Jen and Sharang. Welcome, everyone. We are very excited to have you all joining us today. As Sharang mentioned, my name is Jen Howder. I am the Director of Admissions for the full-time programs here at Carey. So that includes our full-time MBA, our dual degrees, and a number of full-time specialized master's programs. And Jen Leard is joining me, and she will walk through some key information about career and life design and give you some more information about what her office and her team will do for you as students here at the Johns Hopkins Carey Business School. To kick things off, though, I want to share that we do have a representative in India. While you are always welcome to reach out to myself particularly, or one of the members of my team as you are working through the admissions process, we do have a Johns Hopkins Carey representative that is in India, local, travels to all of the different events and fairs with Seed Global and different other organizations. He was unable to join us on the call today because he is traveling on behalf of the university, but I wanted to share his information from the offset, and we'll share this again at the end of the program. If you do want to connect with Shreyas, he is a wonderful resource. He is always welcome to taking calls or meetings. If you are able to meet in person, that's wonderful. But I wanted you to have that resource that you can connect directly with Shreyas. With that said, I want to provide a quick overview of the Johns Hopkins Carey Business School. And I want to first kind of back that up by talking a little bit about Johns Hopkins. Johns Hopkins, you are likely familiar with the name. It is a globally renowned institution. It is the first research university in the United States. So that is really how Johns Hopkins got its founding and its start. You can see by some of the numbers here on the screen, we are number 7 in the best national universities as of 2026 U.S. News and World Report, number 14 in best global universities, and number 16 in the world university rankings. So you have a wealth of opportunity here at Johns Hopkins. We have 29 Nobel Prize winners that have ties to Johns Hopkins, and you would be becoming a part of an alumni network that is over 260,000 students. But to talk a little bit about Carey in particular, while the Johns Hopkins University has been around for many years, the Carey Business School is actually quite young, but that is not to say that we haven't been teaching business courses for quite some time. So we have been offering business courses. Our first business economic course started back in 1916, so well over 100 years at this point. It's just that more recently, the Carey Business School was founded, given the name the Carey Business School. But it's really exciting to be a young business school. It gives us a lot of opportunity, a lot of freedom to take the feedback from our students to really, update our curriculum as things are changing. And that's something that we'll talk more about today with the focus of AI, really just being able to dive into how that can advance the future and what opportunities we can take advantage of here at Carey in offering to you. So a couple of stats there on the screen. But we'll talk a little bit about our locations. The Johns Hopkins University is located in Baltimore, Maryland, which is on the east coast of the United States. It's just north of Washington, D.C., kind of sits in between New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. And the Carey Business School is not part of the central campus. We have our own location right on the waterfront in what's known as the Harbor East neighborhood. So we have wonderful views of the harbor. It puts us right in the business district of Baltimore. That was very strategic, giving our students direct access to the businesses around us, and really playing a central role in the growth and the economic and business history of the city of Baltimore. But like I said, we're always expanding. We are always, looking for that next opportunity. So we also have a space in Washington, D.C., so about 45 minutes away from us here in Baltimore. We have the Hopkins Bloomberg Center, which opened just about 2 years ago. So it is a brand new building where it brings together several of the schools at the Johns Hopkins University. So it is the Carey Business School, it is the School of Advanced International Studies, and some of our advanced academic programs through Krieger Arts and Sciences. But really, this was meant to be a space for Johns Hopkins, the community, to continue to innovate, influence, and advance humanity. So we are right down the road. This sits on Pennsylvania Avenue. It's right down the road from the Capitol building, and it really provides just unparalleled access to global employers, leading organizations, government agencies, really that are going to give you a lot of that hands-on experiential learning. And so this is a look at the list of all of the programs offered at Carey. As I mentioned, I oversee our full-time programs. So we have our full-time Johns Hopkins MBA. That is our flagship program. But we also offer it in a number of other formats, including a part-time online MBA. We have a new executive MBA starting in fall of 2026. We have an accelerated MBA that is also going to be new starting next year. And then we have a number of specialized master's degrees, and all of these are offered as both full and part-time programs. You'll see in that list. But I really wanted to highlight the fact that we have so many STEM designated programs. And as you saw with the poll at the start of the program, there really is such a unique advantage to having this STEM designation. For instance, our full-time MBA was one of the first in the United States to be fully designated as a STEM MBA program. There are some MBA programs here that you have to be in a certain major or specialization. It does not matter here at Carey. The full MBA is STEM designated, and many of our specialized masters are also STEM designated. So that's going to give you that unique opportunity to have the STEM OPT training, which is going to allow you to have an extension of 24 months to complete. So essentially, you are going from a 12 months to now having that extension of the extra 24 months. And Jen will talk more about this, about how you can work directly with the career and life design team to really take advantage of this opportunity. So a real quick look at our full-time MBA program. It's in person. It is a 2-year program located here in Baltimore at our Harbor East location. You do have opportunities, though, to take classes in Washington, D.C. So if you're interested in the MBA program, you're going to have the best of both cities. As I mentioned, the entire program is STEM designated, and you have 2 different specializations if you want to take advantage of the full-time MBA program. We were very excited. Just a couple of weeks ago, the QS World University released their rankings for 2025, and our full-time MBA is ranked number 21 in the United States. So we were very proud of that. We've also been highlighted by Poets and Quants for our Business of Health and as a top business school to watch. But if you're looking for a shorter program, a little bit more specialized, we have a number of specialized master's programs, and they're offered in a number of different formats in terms of both credits, in terms of length of the program. So you have a number of programs that are offered in a 9-month option, so really 1 academic year from August to May. We have some programs that you can take in a 12-month format, so 1 full year from August to August. And then we also have our specialized masters in finance, which is offered in 3 different modalities. And there's an option for that one that you can do in 15 months, which allows you to also do an internship. So a lot of flexibility here. I recognize with all of these choices, it might be a bit overwhelming. That is why my team is here. We are always happy to meet with you, talk through your background, your goals, and help you find the program that is going to be the best fit for you. And then just to talk a little bit about the curriculum structure at Carey, because this will tie into what Jen has to say about, taking that next step and building upon what you're learning in the classroom. We structure the curriculum of our full-time programs that you have a set core of business foundation classes. So all students are getting the same key business concepts. Consistently updating these courses, though, because as I mentioned, as the world continues to change quite rapidly, so are we. So we are always updating that curriculum for the business foundations. Then you have the opportunity to master an area of expertise, and that is the functional core, really developing the framework, tools, and the practical knowledge, aligning with your career goals. So you're working directly with Jen Leard and her team to determine, what area of expertise you really want to hone in on. And from there, you can also customize your program with a number of different electives. And this is a way that you can differentiate yourself. Aside from those 3 elements of the curriculum, there's also this piece of the curriculum that is all about experiential learning. We want to make sure that from day one, we are getting you out into the field. We are giving you that hands-on real-world experience. We're not just having you sit in classrooms, listening to lectures. We know that you learn best by doing. So we're going to bring the field to the classroom and take the classroom to the field. There are a number of courses in each of our programs that are, our signature experiential learning opportunities, but there's also a number of different co-curricular opportunities that you can take advantage of. And I did want to note that our full-time MBA in particular, when we redid our curriculum in 2021, we were awarded an Innovator Award of General Excellence for our approach to experiential learning, because it is a scaffolded approach. We, build upon those foundational skills, And again, it's something that starts from day one. It's not having you wait until, your second semester or until you take an internship. We are really making sure that you get that hands-on experience right away. So a couple of experiential learning opportunities that you can also take advantage of outside of the classroom. We always have case competitions going on. You can go on a global immersion. These are courses, they count as electives, so they're actually part of the tuition that you're already paying. So we have about 12 different opportunities of different global immersions all around the globe, all different themes and topics that you can take advantage of, whether this is on a winter break or a spring break or a winter intersession. Leadership develop expeditions, same opportunity, to travel, really try your hand at something outside of your comfort zone. And then we also have our industry treks. So Jen, if you want to go to the next slide, this is one of my favorite slides to show. Our career and life design team and our employer relations team does a phenomenal job making sure that our students have opportunities to travel. Some of these just happened a few weeks ago in November. We have more coming up, but you'll see here we have students at Microsoft, at Amazon. The students you can see in front of the mural are in New York City on a real estate trek. And then our marketing students each year, they go to Hershey, Pennsylvania to learn all about the Hershey company. They actually get to make their own chocolate brand, which is a great opportunity. But really, this is just, the tip of what we have to offer here at Carey in terms of experiential learning. And then just real quick to talk about the student experience. You are going to learn so much in the classroom, but you are going to learn just as much from your peers and the opportunities that you take advantage of outside of the classroom. So there's a number of different student organizations that you can become involved in, whether that is an industry focused club like our consulting club. There are regional interest clubs and special interest clubs as well. So many of our students take part in that. They take leadership roles in that, which is really a great opportunity for them to build those skills as well. And with those organizations, they are working on many student-led conferences. So these are a highlight of some of our top conferences we host each year. And then Carey is very big on community involvement. Our idea of business with humanity in mind. It's not just a slogan, it's not just a tagline. We really do engage with the community in Baltimore, Washington, D.C., the region in any way that we can. These are just a highlight of some of the opportunities, something like our Scope-a-thon, a one-day, consulting sprint where we're working directly with small business owners here in Baltimore and Washington, D.C. on a consulting project. So again, tying that experiential learning right into what we can do in the community. And then finally, I wanted to highlight some research centers and initiatives. Jen will be talking all about AI today. We do have a Center for Digital Health and Artificial Intelligence. We have some of the top experts in the United States heading the Center for Digital Health and Artificial Intelligence, also known as CDHI, really looking at cutting edge research at the intersection of digital technologies, analytics, AI, and healthcare. So our students are able to engage directly in the research, the operations, and the management of that center. And then we also have the Hopkins Business of Health Initiative. So one of the things that is unique to Johns Hopkins is just how integrated all of the different graduate schools are. And you really have access to that entire ecosystem. So you are not just working with other business students, you'll have the opportunity to work with students who are coming from the School of Medicine or the Bloomberg School of Public Health or the Whiting School of Engineering. And it's really when all of those minds come together in some of these different research centers and initiatives that you see such powerful changes and ways that our students are innovating and helping shape the future. And the last thing I will touch on before I hand things over to Jen is our Johns Hopkins Technology Ventures, JHTV. this is really the prime example of how the Johns Hopkins ecosystem comes together. It is the university's centralized hub for innovation and commercialization. So not only our undergrad students, but all of our graduate students at all of the schools can take advantage of JHTV. And it really is just such a robust innovation ecosystem, allowing us to make those strides in research and putting forth that societal impact. So we've got something called the Commercialization Academy. It's an actual 2-year paid fellowship that many of our students can take advantage of. And then there are 2 other opportunities at JHTV, the Fast Forward University. Really just a coordinated suite of resources, again, moving technologies from startup to marketplace. And then we have the PAVA Center for Entrepreneurship. So a tiered accelerated program, lots of different grants and prize money available through JHTV. So a number of opportunities. I could talk all day about the opportunities, but I want to turn things over to Jen because she's really going to tell you about how you can take all of what you're learning here at Carey and build for what's next, particularly in the realm of AI.
Great. Thanks so much, Jen. And I'll be able to iterate some of the things you said and just sort of connect the dots here for us. As you heard Jen talk about, building for what's next is really a core foundation for us at Carey. And it really drives everything we do. I have the privilege, again, Jen Laird, I'm the Director of Career and Life Design, and I have the privilege of leading this team and working alongside experts in this career space who are really focused on helping students design meaningful and future forward careers. We do this through combining this idea of your business insights and your technological and analytical competency with human-centered strategy skills, and then really wrapping it all together to help students figure out ways to apply those skills in both impactful and capacity building ways so that they can tell stories about how they are connecting the dots between these experiences. So I wanted to, I'm sure just like us, you all are following how closely the world of work is being reshaped by artificial intelligence and global mobility and cross-disciplinary problem solving. And Jen highlighted that not just learning from folks who are business minded, but how are you coming together to learn and connect and collaborate across disciplines? So we're expanding our scope, and this is really shifting business models and talent needs. So I thought as we started, particularly in the age of AI and how quickly the market is changing and moving, I've been following some of the questions here, and those align with some of the questions you're asking around this really unique market that we find ourselves in. Right now, the market is less predictable than it has been in the past. If you think about a market that is in a recession, you typically see across the board layoffs and hiring freezes. And we're not seeing that. We're seeing companies that are reducing in some areas and increasing in others, and industries that are doing the same. And so it gives students a lot of opportunity to think strategically about how they stay ahead of what's coming. So I wanted to share a couple of things that we know and that we're following and paying attention to here at Carey. What we hear from employers and what we're seeing is employers are prioritizing data fluency, adaptability, and human-centered leadership, the ability to combine the quantitative and the qualitative to help organizations solve really complex and unique problems. And there's an adaptability and agility that's needed in that work. So these are some of the skills that they are looking for students and candidates to come into their organizations with. Global pathways and really thinking broadly across geographies and across organizations are expanding, especially for STEM talent. So that is part of Carey's decision to really drive a number of our programs with STEM designation to expand specifically for our international students who are looking to work and apply their skills in the US, to expand the runway for students to be able to demonstrate those skills and really have an impact. And I was thinking about this idea of career readiness today and playing around with this. And I think what we're seeing is it's a combination of strategic foresight. So your ability to not just focus on what's in front of you and the challenges that we're currently facing, but continually scanning, particularly in the disciplines, the areas that you're most interested in, what's on the forefront, what's coming, combined with a depth of technical skills and how you start to apply those to your specific industry. And you combine the experiences that you've had, the insights that you've gained with what you learn in an academic program, and then what the market needs. And this real focus on purpose-driven decision making, being thoughtful and strategic, and as well as bringing that human-centered approach into the decision making. And the last piece here is the intentional communication, because I've worked with students who have all of these other things and aren't able to clearly articulate their message in an impactful way that connects to the listener's needs or the organization's needs, not just throughout their program, but also sort of in that career search, that hiring process. You want to be thought of for opportunities. And so networking, building those connections, articulating your message, your interests, what's driving you really does make a difference in this space. And that's why at Carey, we really focus on this idea of helping candidates tell an impactful career and professional story that helps you connect the dots between where you've come from, what you're doing now, and where you're going. And the impetus for candidates to have those stories, to be really proactive in what I want people to come to me for, what I'm curious about, what I'm learning, how I'm scanning to see what's coming and how my skills can apply and directly connect. The impetus on the candidate is much more in this market, and we think moving forward than it ever has been before. Instead of sending your resume in and saying, here's my past experience, come to me for what you want to come to me for, there's more of a focus on candidates being able to connect those dots. So those are some of the things that we're really paying attention to, particularly when we're working with students in a career and life design space, as well as helping students get really increased industry exposure. And so as we're preparing students for both the current and future world of work, Carey takes an agile and industry-informed approach. And as Jen mentioned, we are a younger business school with, we've been doing business education for a really long time, over 100 years. But one of the things that I think gives us an ability to stay agile is our youth in the business landscape. The market is asking candidates, so all of you on this call, one of the key skills that the market is asking for is agility. And so because candidates are being asked this, I think at Carey, we're able to practice this skill ourselves. And we do this both in and out of the classroom, looking at how do we adapt, how do we advance the curriculum quickly and nimbly to stay ahead of what the market is needing, because there's a lot of change with AI, with technology, with the global expansion, as we talked about. It's coming quickly. It's here, as Strong said. And so we want to make sure that we are adjusting not just the academics, but also the experiences that students engage in, so that you're coming out with a critical set of applied experiences. And we do this through opt-in and sort of required opportunities. So there's an opportunity for students across any of the programs to really choose their own adventure. Sorry, I was having a Zoom pop up there as we're talking about technology and navigating it every day. And so a couple things I wanted to mention in terms of what we've cultivated. Jen had talked about designated MBA, STEM designated MBA and MS programs to really create more optionality for our students. This idea of the AI, the analytics embedding across the curriculum. And some of our programs, particularly programs that have artificial intelligence in the name, lean into this very heavily. And we know that all of our students coming out of Carey and any candidate going into the market really has to have a level of AI and technological savviness. So we talked about that in terms of that tech depth. This is really important, and not just coming out with a savviness, but an open to learning, a curiosity to think about how do you start applying it in your area of discipline. Most organizations are getting started in this space, right? It's coming and it's happening as we're talking. And so as they're hiring candidates into an organization, these are some of the skills that they are hiring in, that they're having to train their current employees on. There's a little bit of catch up that most organizations are doing with their current workforce. And so this is where students coming out of programs that are really focused on how do you leverage AI, how do you stay ahead of market needs, can really differentiate themselves. And we do this also through applied learning, as Jen talked about, through project work, consulting engagements, actual application in industry. And this is really critical because students need to be able to come into their job search and interviews and networking conversations, being able to tell stories about how they've actually tried things on and how they've made an impact or expanded, again, their capabilities. And we wanted, one of the things we pay attention to and focus on is really career and life design support that is focused on the storytelling, the networking, iterative and strategic job and internship searching, and then an individualized approach, because each of you coming in, you might be going into similar programs, but you're coming with different stories, different experiences, and different interests. So through one-on-one and group coaching, we want to help you learn from one another, as well as really think about what are your unique paths, what are the unique approaches you're going to take to this process. The other thing that I think is really important, and I would encourage in any program that a student goes into, and we especially are focused on this at Carey, is this ecosystem approach. A lot of times historically, career support has been really siloed and isolated. And one of the things that we focus on at Carey is integrating career and life design into the experience. And we partner closely and are in pretty much daily communication with faculty, industry partners, alumni, and our employer relations team so that we are able to embed in the student experience and help you connect the dots. Because there are a lot of things, and I'll talk in a moment about the things that are in your control and some of the things that are out of your control. And so we want to really double down on those things for students that are inside of your control. And we do this a lot of times through collaboration and partnership. When it comes to designing your career at Carey, I want to emphasize you are in the driver's seat. And this is really critical. And some of the questions that came in as I was sort of scanning the chat were really around how do you differentiate yourself? How do you stand out in a complex market? How do you choose different programs? And there's no one exact right answer to that. I think one of the key things that students and candidates can do is drive their career, take ownership of utilizing the resources at your fingertips, ask questions, and continue to iterate and be flexible as you learn more information. And so at Carey, we really focus on empowering the student both to navigate your career search while you're here at the program, sort of that first next step outside of Carey, but for a lifetime of career decision making, because we know that people are not often staying at one organization and or in one industry for the length of their career. So we want to equip you to be able to be nimble to make the decisions as the market evolves that make the most sense for you. And we do this through an approach of holistic coaching and life design to really help you meet your unique career goals. That's really important to us. I have a team of people who love the work that they get to do and are really focused in how do we show up for students and how do we help you maximize the experience in front of you. And we do this again through translating your prior experiences into opportunity. That connecting the dots piece is so important. We practice what we preach in terms of utilizing and offering to students and partnering with organizations to provide AI-enabled career planning tools and industry guides and support, because not just in terms of how are you practicing utilizing AI in your discipline in appropriate and effective ways, we also find that, to Sharang's point, it's the best friend, but it's also a really great research tool and a strategy thought partner and helpful to think about how do I learn more about industry? How do I connect where I was going or where I've come from to where I was going? So we find that AI can be a really good, it's not giving you 100% of the answers. You don't want to rely too heavily on it. You need to be part of the process as well. But it's a really good tool to help in this career search. So we bring that in. The other thing that I wanted to emphasize on this slide is really about, especially in an age of AI and technology and how fast moving industry and the world is, feedback loops are particularly important. And we talked a little bit about that agility, but in order to be agile, I think you need two things. You need one, to be where your feet are. The more present and in the moment you can be, the more you can adjust and adapt to meet what's in front of you or what's on the forefront. If you're not present, we're so distracted anymore. If you're not present, if you're not focused, you're going to miss those opportunities. The other thing that I think candidates really need are feedback loops, the ability to get feedback from peers, from people who are in the industry, from your network, from faculty members, and really think strategically about how you apply that feedback and how you start to iterate and make change. Doing the same thing over and over, especially if it's not working and not getting results, I can see that really become a barrier to students where they double down on something that they think they want or they think might work, and they're not open to making those changes. So those feedback loops and that network are really critical in order to navigate that. And the last thing we really emphasize is early clarity, strategic planning, AI integration, and iterative action. That early clarity and making sure you're making thoughtful decisions as you move forward and leveraging those support networks is really important for anyone navigating an employment search right now in this really unique market, but particularly for students at a master's level coming into the marketplace. So just to emphasize, we work with students, again, holistically. So if you're coming into a program and you're thinking, I have an idea of where I'm headed, but I still have some exploration to do, and I want to connect the dots between how my past experience really connects to this program and what are the different options? What are the different pathways that I could take? We work with students in that space. We work with you on articulating the brand and the story and really thinking big picture about the goals, as well as sort of that narrower focus around, well, how do I create my materials, resume and cover letter and LinkedIn? How do I put that story out there in front of potential future employers and my network? Really thinking about the strategic internship and job search, interview preparation. The more you practice, the more comfortable you will feel being your authentic self in those interview and networking situations, and that lifelong kind of career management that I talked about before. And we do this again in partnership with a number of different offices across strategic partnerships and employer relations and alumni relations at Carey to really make that experience really integrative and collaborative. I thought about as you were thinking of applying to master's programs, hopefully at Carey, and you've heard some interesting things here today. I wanted to share some of the things that we're really following. We've really looked at the data. We've studied the students who are most successful from Carey, and these success characteristics really stood out. And we find that these are often the controllables that can help reduce barriers that are outside of your control. And so, for example, in our full-time MBA this year, the data hasn't been released yet, but we saw our international students do incredibly well in the market. And when we analyzed the students who were able to really overcome some of those hiring barriers in terms of navigating a US market, it was really students who demonstrated these success characteristics where they have early clarity, they're articulating their professional story. There's an internal locus of control around what can I iterate, what can I change, what can I adjust. Proactively networking and attention to detail and professionalism of how you show up every time you show up really makes a difference, and leveraging that ecosystem. And it was, those students were able to sort of stay away from some of these common detractors around being non-committal, not following through, inconsistent professionalism, and that external locus of control or that pessimism that often got in the way of students moving toward their goals or being thought of for opportunities. So in addition to artificial intelligence and technological skills that you'll get through the program that you would dig into, these are some of the characteristics that we find really help students. Both domestic and international students really stand out in the US market and global market. We talk a lot about parallel pathways and making sure that your focus is really global and you're thinking about where can you leverage the best experiences for you based off of your skills and based off of where you want to go. This is a high-level overview of a lot of the opportunities that we have here at Carey. We just want to show that there's a depth of self-help resources online, as well as courses and curriculum and mentoring opportunities. And again, we partner closely with an employer relations team who really uses a consultative approach to build partnerships across these primary industries. So the industries in the circles are our primary core industries. The industries in the squares are secondary industries. If you don't see an industry focus of interest here, that's where we work with individuals to think about how do you leverage the Carey and the Hopkins network more broadly. And this gives just an overview of some of our industry opportunities and exposure from recruitment activities, partnership events. Just this Friday, we have an MBA corporate networking breakfast that will have over 100 people attending, networking, engaging, really digging into industry connections. We have a lot of industry education and then certainly job and internship post sharing through Handshake currently, which is our primary hub. And this fall, we will be rolling out 1220, which is a system, sort of a career hub that is a little bit more aligned for MBA and master's level business students. So we're really excited about that. You'll see on here some familiar names, global organizations, mid-size and small organizations. So we have a number of partners who continually hire at Carey across all industries and discipline areas. And that's part of being, not just a business school, but a business school in a broader ecosystem where we're able to really leverage those partnerships. I wanted to, given the number of students joining us from India, wanted to spotlight some of the outcomes that we see for students across our full-time MBA, Flex MBA, and full-time MS program from India. Certainly recognize and are so excited to have students from Pakistan and West Africa and other countries around the world on this call as well. And so there's an opportunity to go to our employment outcomes page for the Carey Business School to learn a little bit more, to go a little bit more in depth, but wanted to share some of those numbers with you. I was most excited to share, and then I'll wrap up because I know we've got to keep moving our conversation today. Too much stuff that we can talk about, but was really most excited to share in lieu of sort of how we focus on, or in light of how we focus on stories, some of the stories of our students, and particularly, again, looked at a spotlight of our students coming from India and some of the paths that they have navigated. And one of the things that I noticed, it was an opportunity for me as I was preparing for this conversation to reconnect with these students. So it's a real privilege to spotlight them because I had an opportunity to be part of their journey while they were here at Carey and stay connected to them beyond. And many of these students have really seen career progression, promotion opportunities to continue to advance since they've left Carey. You'll see students on here who came from our full-time master's programs as well as our full-time MBA program. And it's really interesting to see some students made a full career transition, some advanced in their current area or discipline. Some were really focused on a geographic change. And so that was their primary focus in terms of making career decisions. And others were making really big shifts. And so you see, for example, Rohan Gupta was an MD coming from India, was focused on research development and project management, then came out of Carey as a senior business development manager at Amazon, where he was able to leverage that health experience and the MBA, and has since moved into business strategy and development at TikTok. You have somebody like Mehak, who came from India in a consulting and development background and really made a big transition into the health space and did an internship at Abbott and was able to receive a return full-time offer as a global product manager at Abbott. You have somebody like Dev, who was marketing analytics in India and then moved forward as an analyst specifically focused in commercial analytics. So leveraged that AI, the analytics, the technical side to advance and is working at Kayak. Manoj, for example, he started off in systems engineering in the UAE and was able to do a lot of work during his program and engage in consulting opportunities, did an internship with Sage Growth Partners, and is really now a critical member of their team focused on consulting and customer engagement, customer advancement. So, all of these stories really tie to, I think, those success characteristics, students who really engaged curricularly and co-curricularly and leveraged those experiences. These are all stories of students who had some unique experiences, engaged fully, said yes to a lot of opportunities, connected with their peers, and were able to leverage their experience for great opportunities. Specifically, all of these students decided to stay in the US and pursue opportunities in the US. Some of them were looking certainly at global pathways. Did they return to home country? Did they look at another country, or did they stay in the US, particularly as the market evolved? Some of these students navigated COVID times and the challenges and the market changes then. Some have navigated the more recent challenges in terms of the advancement of AI and technology. So all really sort of navigating different markets. So it's fun to share some of their stories with you. And I will now sort of wrap up the career focus and pass it back to Jen around admissions and financial overview before we get to your questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Jen. Hopefully hearing all about Carey, all of the opportunities, particularly in terms of the Career and Life Design Lab, you are interested in taking that next step and pursuing an MBA program or a specialized master's here at Carey. So I want to talk just briefly about our admissions process. Again, these are some key points about why we hope that you are looking ahead and joining us in the future. You have access to 2 different locations, just 60 kilometers apart. You have the innovation of a young business school, an award-winning approach to experiential education, and really just the alumni network that you're going to get. I know there was a question already in the chat about how you can get engaged with alumni or other current students. We have a way on our website that you can connect with the ambassadors. We also have Shreyas, who is a local that you can connect with from a staff side of things. But if you were to go on LinkedIn and search for any student that has been at Carey, I pretty much guarantee that they will be responsive and be happy to talk more about their experience. But if you are looking to apply, there are different sets of criteria, whether you're looking for the full-time MBA or for one of our full-time masters. So there's different rounds. For the full-time MBA, we do have our second round deadline coming up on January 7th. If you were to apply by that January 7th deadline, you would have a decision from us on March 4th, and then you would have until April 15th to make your decision of whether you're going to enroll. I do want to note that for our international students, we really advise students not to wait until a later round. So round 2 is kind of the last round we advise for international students, just for a visa processing standpoint. In terms of the full-time MS program, so if you're interested in one of the specialized master's programs, round 2 is also coming up. It is a week later than our MBA deadline, but that is on January 14th. Same thing, we really do advise for the specialized master's programs to apply by round 2 if you are an international student and will need to do the visa processing. You can go to our website and see the criteria for each of the different programs in terms of the application requirements. It is pretty standard in terms of we will need your transcripts. If you have completed your education outside of the United States, we will need a course-by-course evaluation. There are a number of different providers that can offer this. Again, go to our website, you can see a list of providers, but that does need to be submitted. We ask for a 1-page resume that's formatted for a business school application. That is one of the key tips that I like to give when talking about applications. It's very easy to think that you already have a resume done because you've previously applied for jobs or things like that. But we really want to make sure that your resume is specifically tailored to meet the needs of applying to a business school program. Most of our programs will have 2 required essays, one really highlighting your goals and your interests in the program, another typically about our community and our values. We require 1 letter of recommendation. For test scores, there are a number of programs that the GMAT and the GRE are optional. For all of our specialized master's programs, these are optional. For the full-time MBA, there is a waiver component if you'd like to waive that requirement. They can be very helpful, these scores, if you are looking for financial aid, which we'll talk about in just a moment. I know that's a very important component. So it is a merit-based scholarship process. So submitting scores can be helpful from that lens. And then just a few other things here at the bottom, you'll see we do need English proficiency scores if you are a non-native English speaker. For our specialized master's programs, there's a Cura interview, which is a video recorded interview. If you're applying to the full-time MBA program, it is by invitation to interview only, and those are conducted via Zoom. And then application fee here, you'll actually get a follow-up email from us for participating in today's session. You will get a code that you can waive the application fee. So for your participation today, we look forward to you submitting your application using that application fee waiver code. And then finally, as I mentioned, scholarships and financial aid, all applicants are automatically considered for scholarship funding. There is no separate application process. At the same time, we as a committee are reviewing your application for admissions to the program. The second part of that process is determining how much we are able to offer in merit-based funding. And that is typically awarded as a dean's scholarship. That's our primary named scholarship. And that can range anywhere from about $20,000 to full tuition if you are pursuing one of our full-time programs. A little bit less if you are looking at one of our part-time programs, simply because most of our part-time students are continuing in a full-time job. But then there are also some endowed scholarships that you can pursue. All of this is linked on our website. And then there's also federal financial aid available. But we try our very best. We want to work with you to make sure that the program is affordable and that we are providing as much aid as possible so that you really can come here and take advantage of all of the opportunities without having to worry so much about the financial aspect of the program. And then finally, these are just some links for different ways to connect with us. The QR code on particular, I would definitely recommend you scan. That's going to take you directly to our ambassadors page. You can filter by program, you can filter by interest, you can filter by country. There are both current student ambassadors on there as well as alumni ambassadors. But again, just a number of different ways that we encourage you to connect with us and remain involved. And I think that brings us to our Q&A.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jen Howder and Jen Leard as well. That was insightful. And that gave us a lot of nice ideas about not just about Johns Hopkins University and the Carey School of Business, but also about how we can consider or at least think about building our careers in the age of AI. Thank you so much for that. We do have 16 questions, and I encourage the 150 plus of us that are still here listening in, maybe shy about asking questions. May I request you to use the Q&A tab and only the Q&A tab to ask some questions that will be helpful. I'm going to try and merge a couple of them, even though we're running short of time. I'm going to try and merge as many of them as possible. There has been one question, mostly by one person, and oh no, I can see a couple of questions about the MBA in healthcare management. Could you throw some light about that? Johns Hopkins University, obviously known for a lot of schools, but also their medical school, has been globally renowned, and the not the collaboration, but the merger of healthcare and business together. Could you talk about that program specifically, if you don't mind?
Sure. So we have a number of different healthcare offerings. We have our full-time specialized master's in healthcare management. So that would be a one-year program that you could pursue. But if you are also interested in doing the full-time MBA, one of the newest dual degrees that we offer that just started this year is our full-time MBA partnered with the MS in healthcare management. So you would essentially be able to get both of those degrees offered by Carey in just 2 years instead of 3. And the great thing about that option is that you do not have to apply up front specifically for that program. So you would just be applying to the standard full-time MBA program, and it would be during your first year here at Carey that you would meet with your advisors, you would talk with the faculty from the healthcare management program, and you would be able to add that for your second year. So essentially all of your electives for the second year of the program would come from the healthcare management program. Again, a great opportunity, 2 degrees instead of 3 years, getting them done in 2.
Superb. And what are some of, sorry, Sean, please.
No, it might
Nope.
be the question that you're going to ask. I just wanted to expand on that too from a career lens, because I
Yeah.
think some of the questions were around some of the career possibilities. We do find that the healthcare focus at Carey, specifically because of the Johns Hopkins brand globally in health, is applicable globally. And so we find some of our students are wanting to stay in the US and continue to practice and pursue, and others are going either return to home country, going to other countries to apply that. And that tends to be a draw for candidates bringing that Johns Hopkins University name. We also encourage students as they go through any of these programs, but particularly the healthcare management, to engage in case competitions, consulting opportunities, so they're able to apply those skills. If you're coming in without any healthcare experience, we do sometimes see students go into post-Carey a short internship to start to apply skills to then be relevant in the market. That's not always the case, but sometimes that's a path if you're coming in with zero to very limited health experience. If you're coming, I think DPT was something that somebody was coming in with. If you're coming in with experience, then we're finding students are really able to leverage the combination of that experience with the MS or MBA program and the applied opportunities here to stand out in the market.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, my next question was focused towards careers, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much for talking about that. I think Akansha had a pretty interesting question, one of the first few questions that came about the massive layoffs and and also some of the challenges for international students in this day and age, to get career opportunities. What are some of the skills that candidates can look at right now? Let's say they are planning for the fall of 2026 to do a 1 year or 2 year programs, and they might have already gotten an offer or something like that. What are some of the skills that they can work on right now before they catch that flight to the US, to actually build to get job ready by the time they are looking to apply?
I think an overall building of use of, as I mentioned before, artificial intelligence and technical skills like Python, analytics skills, platforms that leverage and utilize analytics and data visualization. Those are all skills that at one point were sort of nice to have, and now they're really need to have. So those are areas, particularly if that's outside of your scope, to make sure that you have a foundational level of understanding in that area. And then thinking about the area, the discipline that you want to go into, how are they? So scanning the market to see how are they currently leveraging those skills and or could leverage those skills. The other thing is really around the business case format to problem solving and presenting your problems. So we work, you hear about case interviews specifically in the consulting industry, but they're really across every industry. And the format of navigating a or a business case interview is similar to how you might want to present a business problem to senior level leadership who have very limited time. So your ability to communicate at a business level and articulate the problem set, how you approached it, and your recommendations or conclusions in a really succinct way in a specific format is really critical to students who can stand out in front of leadership and get recognized, and students who can't. So those are some of the skills that I would really emphasize students practicing. And if you look at LinkedIn Learning, online, there are a lot of ways that you can start to even build those skill sets in micro ways before you engage in a program.
So thank you so much for that as well. I think my next question to Jen Howder is, it's a combination of a lot of questions that have come in the chat, and I'm trying to merge some of them. There is a favorite word. Don't know if you agree with me or not, but there's a favorite word that a lot of admissions directors use. It's on the internet. You guys use it in your presentations. It's called holistic admissions process. It's a holistic picture. Could you throw some light on the definition of holistic? If my undergrad grades were not good, is there no chance that I can get into your university? What are some of the things that I can do? And could you define holistic admissions process, please?
I knew as soon as you said there is a word that we like to use, I could have told you that it was going to be holistic. Um, what that means for us and for my team in particular, because I can take on a number of different meanings. Um, I, you know, lead my team to have a read to admit philosophy. So when they are looking at someone's application, they are looking for all of the reasons to admit a student, not looking for all of the reasons to ding a student or deny a student. So we're not looking, oh, this GPA, was bad, so that's out, or not a great GMAT, GRE. We are really trying to highlight all of the ways that you would be a great fit for Carey and for that particular program. So if you have a lower GPA, we understand that for some people going to university, it's a learning curve. So you might have your first semester, your first year, your grades weren't as strong, but they trend upwards over time. That's something that we'll look out for. We know that not all students are great test takers. So again, that's why we do have the option to waive the GMAT or the GRE if you feel like your skills are better demonstrated elsewhere within your transcript or within your current work experience. So there are a number of different ways within the application process to really highlight your strengths and your skills. You have the access to the optional essay if there are anything questions that might come up within your application process, if you have a gap in your work experience. Again, we understand the realities of the times that we're living in right now. So we always look at that and, we look for the understanding. My biggest guidance would be just to not let us guess as to why there might be a gap in employment or a lower GPA or something like that. Give us the evidence that we need that really supports why we should admit you. We're looking for your best day in the sun. We're not looking for your worst. And I always tell my team we're the office of admissions, not the office of denial. So have a read to admit philosophy.
I think that's one thing that students should do, that admissions teams are looking to recruit students and not deny. So they want to find reasons to give you that admission, and they're not really being difficult in that sense. Another question, and maybe Jean Leard, maybe you can answer that with your experience both in admissions and now in careers. If there are people that have finished one particular program in their undergrad and they want to move their career paths, can they do some of your programs, and what are some of the transferable skills that you recommend they should pick up in their respective programs to move from one career path to the other?
I can start then there, and Jen Hutter, if you want to add in. Transferable skills are really key. And so I'm glad whoever asked that question asked it, because, and that's part of what Jen was talking about, even in the admissions process and your application materials, and through the career search that I mentioned before, the connecting the dots between your experiences is really critical. So look at the skills that you built either in your undergraduate experience or in your most recent work experience. What are some of those skills that you're using? Is it business acumen? Is it strategic decision making? Is it project management? Is it analytics? Is it working cross collaboratively on teams? There are so many skills that every industry and every career field needs. And it might not even be the skills that career field you think of most readily for, right? You think of finance and you think of numbers and data. And while that's critical, if you don't have the business acumen and the ability to communicate professionally in front of a boardroom or make strategic decisions about where your capacity goes or collaborate with team members, you won't stand out in that process. So I think it's really important to think holistically about the skills that you bring in and what are the skills that you want to expand on for that next career step. What are the skills that you want to build that you might not have had exposure to before? And this is where AI can be a research tool to help. Utilize AI just for sort of that early research to help you understand what are the skills of a certain discipline or a certain area, and take an assessment of your own work and say, have I used those? You could even put your resume in and say, cross-analyze here the skills, the experience that come from, and where I'm going. Is there a fit? And what are the gaps? And how can I help prepare for some of those gaps? It's a really great proactive approach that you can take.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to, stick with you, Jean Leard, and then maybe you can, we can have two answers to these questions. We're talking in the age of AI. We're talking of admissions. We spoke about my best friend, ChatGPT. What is your take on candidates using AI in helping them write applications to your universities? Should they use it? Is it forbidden? Would you know if they've written their essay with the help of ChatGPT? What are your thoughts, just to clarify for all the students?
So ChatGPT is a
So
wonderful tool. Um, and I think if it's being used as a tool, um, in the same way that we know students might be working, with an outside consultant or even having a friend or a family member review their essay. So if you are using it to check grammar or, make sure your ideas are coming across, it should still be your own work, though. It should not be generating the ideas. It is very easy to tell, I would say, as a team, which essays are written by ChatGPT. There are some definite giveaways. But again, we want you to be utilizing the AI because it is there. And it can be very helpful in a number of ways, but it should not be the primary factor that's generating the ideas. It should merely be a tool to help you perfect what you've already come up with.
Thank
one
you.
tip
Yes.
that I recommend there is, to Jen's point, don't copy and paste. Because if you use ChatGPT and or another AI tool and you copy it into whatever format you're going to submit, you are less likely to bring your own voice to it and you are more likely to depend on it. And so do not get into the habit of just copying and pasting, even small portions of it. Type it, write it out. It takes a little more time, but for something like admissions applications or job applications, it is, to Jen's point, easy to tell. And it's most easy to tell, not necessarily that something wrote it for you, but that it's not your authentic voice because it doesn't connect the dots as easily. And that's on you to do in either of these processes.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. We are already 10 minutes over time, but I have one last burning question. And it's burning and it's a difficult question for admissions teams to ask at this stage of times rather. It has been a little bit like a lot of speculations, a lot of content on the news about international student mobility in the US. There are a couple of questions on that. I'm just going to summarize that. When it comes to jobs, when it comes to visas, there is a little bit of uncertainty. There's also a little bit of speculation, but there is also some content, right? I have two questions. One is, what is your take or Johns Hopkins University's take about inviting international students to your campuses, to your programs, to your classrooms? And second thing, where and how can students access this information? Is scrolling on Reels and TikTok getting information? Is that a good way to get information? Or do you also provide, as student services, do you also provide some information to students? Could you throw some light on the current situation according to you and where to find updated information?
It's complicated, as you said. And so I really appreciate the question. I can maybe start from the career standpoint. And Jen, if you want to add in from the admissions standpoint, it is, we are following really closely. And it is a time where there have been a lot of changes. There have been changes in sort of information coming out that has created a lot of anxiety and worry. And then that is dialed back. And so our biggest message, when the news around and uncertainty around H-1B came out, myself and our director of employer relations sent a message to all students to really ground students in what we know and to stay the course in terms of their focus and how they're navigating their process. Because some of the things I shared before in terms of the strategies, we are finding that those still stand and that it is easy to get distracted by some of the noise. You certainly want to make educated and thoughtful decisions. And we find that when students are in the program and here in the United States, engaging in things that we talked about where they're able to apply the skills are things that help students, particularly international students, stand out in the market because there are still very much opportunities for international students. But similar to domestic students, it's the onus is on the candidate more to differentiate themselves. And so candidates who are coming into an academic program, just going through their academic experience, kind of have blinders on from, okay, I'm going to be in the classroom and do the work in the classroom. those students, I would say, aren't standing out in the process as much. And so it is really looking at how do you expand your capabilities and the impact. And then also that global parallel pathway, that staying open to opportunities, short term and longer term in the US, as well as global opportunities. So you can diversify your search because, as you said, there's a little bit of unknown, there's a little bit of unpredictable. And so we have to make strategic decisions. So the more you're able to sort of expand your opportunities globally, the more, if something does shift or change that was unpredicted, you're able to sort of shift and change along with that. I think the other thing is that the OPT helps because that gives students 3 years to be able to work in the US. And that's an opportunity to potentially carve out opportunities in the US as well as globally. So thinking about those multinational companies, those opportunities where potentially there are opportunities in the US as well as in other countries around the world. So those are some of the things that we're really staying focused on, as well as really helping students to use the strategies we know to work, even in the most challenging times, because it can be challenging for international students to navigate that search. And don't want students to have blinders on to that. But there are a lot of support systems as well as sort of scanning. And our Office of International Services really helps with that in terms of communication, staying apprised of what's going on, any changes, and communicating that out to the community. Jen, I'll pass it over to you.
I think that was a beautiful summary. We are true believers in having a very diverse population here at the Johns Hopkins University and the Carey Business School. So from our lens, we are always encouraging international students to apply, and we work with you the very best we can in partnership with our Office of International Student Services. Despite some of the difficulties, but that's why we do recommend, if you are looking to come to Carey, to get your application in by round 2 for the very best chances of getting, visa approval, and so that you are able to start the program on time. But we certainly encourage you to apply, and we will do our very best to help you get here.
Thank you so much for that. That might clarify a lot of thoughts. Just on behalf of JHU and all other international universities, don't get news on Instagram or TikTok or any other platforms. Universities have official sessions. You can also look at the US government website for some official news, so that just minus the noise and the speculation. As Jen Howder very, very correctly mentioned, that the admissions team and student services team want to help you. They want to bring you on campus. They're finding reasons to do that. So with your essays, with your applications, do your best. I know, and I apologize on behalf of the questions that have remained unanswered, but Jen Howder has just kindly put it in the chat. Shreyas, who is based in India, who takes care of India and some of the nearby regions, you can reach out to him on email. His WhatsApp number is also mentioned, and you can take reference about this conversation or this masterclass hosted by Seed Global Education. It is 1 hour and 17 minutes since when we started, and we still have 124 engaged candidates with a lot of unanswered questions, which I again apologize for, but we just have so much time, and we'd like to thank you for all your time. We'd like to thank Jen Leard, Jen Howder for all their time as well. And, we do appreciate all the 120 of you that have spent your time this evening, this afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you so much. Seed Global Education's Johns Hopkins University Carey Business School. Thank you so much for taking your time. Thank you, John, and thank you, John, yourself as well. Bye-bye and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you all.